What if the person who left you never truly forgot you? What if the silence wasn't closure, but a shield? What if their certainty was just survival dressed up as strength? Because most people don't walk away with clarity. They walk away with noise in their head and weight in their chest, telling themselves they made the right call, even as a part of them quietly aches for what they lost. Today, we're not chasing fairy tales. We're tracing the real aftermath. What happens after she leaves, when the world goes quiet, but her mind doesn't. We'll explore the hidden stages of Dumper's remorse. Not the dramatic kind you see in movies, but the private unraveling she never admits out loud. The doubts that creep in at midnight. The flash of memory that stops her breath. The pride that keeps her frozen long after her heart begins to thaw. This is about more than missing you. It's about what that silence does to the one who created it. Because behind every clean break is a story still unfolding. And when you start connecting those quiet moments, the pause before she answers, the shift in her energy, the way she avoids your name, a pattern appears. A roadmap of remorse, hidden behind pride. Some of these stories end with reconnection. Some never do. But all of them carry truth most men never get to see unless they stop chasing and start observing. So if you've ever wondered what happens on her side of the silence, stay with me. Like this video if you feel the truth in it. And subscribe to Stoic Station, where healing doesn't wait for apologies and peace doesn't beg to be heard. Let's begin with the first stage. Stage number 1. She looked sure, but it was just a mask. When she walked away, it seemed effortless. Her voice didn't shake. Her eyes didn't linger. There was no hesitation, no last look back, just the kind of stillness that makes you believe she had already let go long before she spoke the words. And maybe she had. But what looked like confidence wasn't clarity. It was self-protection. What you saw in that moment wasn't her truth, it was her armor. Breakups rarely happen in the instant they're announced. They happen quietly, over time. While you were holding on, trying to fix things, trying to love her through the tension, she was slowly collecting reasons to detach. Every missed connection, every argument left unresolved, every emotional need that went unmet, she stored them like evidence. And in the silence between those moments, she was already rehearsing her exit. So when the end came, it wasn't sudden for her. It was prepared, practiced, emotionally buffered. She didn't stop caring overnight. She just convinced herself that leaving was safer than staying, that walking away with a clean, confident break was easier than exposing herself to one more disappointment, one more emotional bruise. And in order to do that, she had to numb what she felt. She had to shut down the part of her that might second-guess it. That's why her goodbye felt cold, not because she didn't feel something, but because she couldn't allow herself to. If she had let the emotion rise, if she had looked you in the eye and let herself feel the gravity of the moment, she might not have followed through. You're not seeing her truth, you're seeing her armor, and that armor can be convincing. So convincing, in fact, that you're left questioning everything. Did she ever really love you? Did any of it matter? Was it all one-sided? But the truth is, it did matter. It was real. You weren't wrong to believe in it. You were just blindsided by the mask she had to wear to walk away. Her certainty wasn't built on strength. It was built on fear. Fear of staying in something that made her vulnerable. Fear of being hurt in a place that once felt safe. So she chose control. She chose silence. She chose the clean break. And now you're left with a wound that still bleeds, while she walks away in armor that looks like peace but feels like pressure, because one day that armor won't protect her from what she refused to feel. But for now, all you can do is remind yourself of this. her strength was a performance, and your love was not a mistake. Stage number 2. Doubt creeps in silently. In the beginning, she felt sure. At least that's what she told herself. The silence after leaving felt like space she needed, like freedom she had earned. There was a calmness to it, not because she was at peace, but because she hadn't yet been touched by the consequences of her decision. But time has a way of softening conviction, and when the noise fades, something else rises in its place: quiet doubt. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It comes in still moments, the ones no one else sees. When she's lying awake at night or walking alone without distractions, that voice begins to whisper, "Did I really make the right choice?" She doesn't say it out loud, not to her friends, not to her family, not even to herself in the mirror, because to question it now would mean unraveling the narrative she worked so hard to protect. So instead, she buries the doubt beneath rationalizations. She replays the moments you didn't show up perfectly. She highlights the flaws, the tensions, the imperfections, because if she rewrites the ending in her favor, maybe she won't have to feel the ache of missing you. But memory is stubborn. It doesn't cling to your mistakes. It holds on to your presence. The way you stayed calm when she was anxious. The way you listened fully when she spoke. The way your steadiness made her feel safe in a world that never felt still. And slowly, those memories begin to rise through the cracks in her confidence. This isn't guilt. It's not a longing she's ready to admit. It's a disruption, a fracture in the story she told herself to feel justified. And once that fracture appears, it's hard to ignore. Because the truth is, she doesn't miss the relationship she escaped. She misses the moments she never thought she'd miss. The way you made her feel seen, known, held. And now, in the absence of your energy, she feels the weight of what she left behind. Not as a loud regret, but as a quiet discomfort that lingers beneath her pride. It's not truth, it's self-preservation, and that whisper, it never really leaves. It just gets quieter when the world is loud. But when the world quiets down again, it's always there, asking the one question she still doesn't want to answer. Stage number 3. She builds walls, not because she's over you. It happens in a moment she didn't plan for, when someone says your name in passing, or a mutual friend shows her a photo of you smiling. Maybe she stumbles across your post, sees the subtle signs that you're moving forward, not backward, and something inside her jolts, not softly, not gradually, but like a switch has been flipped. Her energy shifts, her tone sharpens. The warmth that once sat in her voice goes cold. If you were to talk to her now, she'd sound indifferent, maybe even dismissive. It might seem like she's finally moved on. But that's not what's happening, not really. That sudden coldness isn't confidence. It's panic. It's her way of bracing for something she didn't expect. The realization that you're slipping out of reach, that you're no longer orbiting her, that you didn't stay frozen in time, waiting for her to come back around. And the truth is, that realization terrifies her more than she'll ever admit. Because now, she's not just facing your silence, she's facing what that silence means. She's walling up, not because she doesn't care, but because caring scares her more than losing you. Especially if she's emotionally avoidant, this is the moment she builds her highest wall yet. She may seem unbothered, but it's an act of protection. The closer regret creeps in, the more fiercely she resists it. Feeling anything at this point would risk unraveling the narrative she's clung to since the day she walked away. That leaving was the right decision, that she's fine, that you didn't matter as much as her heart keeps trying to remind her. So instead of feeling, she shuts down. Instead of reflecting, she doubles down. She rewrites the ending, edits the memories, convinces herself that your absence is irrelevant. But you can sense it. beneath the short replies and the blank expressions, there's something fragile, something trying not to crack open. That wall she built, it wasn't made out of bricks. It was made out of fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of facing the emotional cost of letting you go, fear of feeling everything she worked so hard to bury. Because if she allows even a fraction of those feelings to surface, the guilt might drown her. So she acts cold, she distances, she makes you feel like you never mattered. But don't mistake that for closure. That's not someone who's healed. That's someone who's hiding from a truth she's not ready to face. And the most heartbreaking part is, she's not protecting herself from you. She's protecting herself from what she still feels about you. Stage number 4. Your silence shakes her confidence. At first, your silence feels like confirmation to her, like proof that the story she told herself was true, that you needed her more than she needed you. She believes the distance means you've finally accepted it, that the game is over, that she's in control. And for a while, she even feels relief. The air feels lighter, the noise quieter. It's everything she thought she wanted. But silence has a different kind of weight. It doesn't stay neutral for long, because silence doesn't just remove your voice, it removes your energy, your reactions, your presence. And without all that, something she didn't expect starts to rise. Tension. Not because you're doing anything, but because you're not. You stop explaining, you stop chasing, you stop replying to breadcrumbs or emotional bait. You don't try to clarify, fix, or reinsert yourself into her world. And it's in that stillness that something inside her begins to unravel, not dramatically, but slowly, like a foundation that's no longer holding. Your silence doesn't say, "I'm angry." It says something much harder to ignore. "I'm not waiting anymore." At first, she assumes that means you've given up. But then the days pass, and she realizes this isn't surrender. This is strength. You're not pausing your life. You're not frozen in regret. You're moving, quietly, intentionally, and that's what truly shakes her. Because now, you're not reacting the way she thought you would. You're not checking in. You're not proving yourself. You're not playing your old role. And for the first time since she walked away, she doesn't know where she stands in your mind. She can't feel your emotional pull. And that uncertainty doesn't just make her uneasy, it exposes how much control she's lost. Your silence starts doing what your words never could. It begins to unsettle her certainty. She thought she understood you, thought she had you figured out. But now she's questioning everything, not just about you, but about herself, about her choice, about whether what she had was more valuable than she allowed herself to believe. And she's left with the one question she never expected to ask. Did I lose him for good? Not because you punished her, not because you made a scene, but because your silence became a mirror. And in that reflection, she no longer sees the man she thought would always be there. She sees a man who let go, gracefully, quietly, completely. And that truth, more than anything, is what begins to haunt her. Stage number 5. She misses you when you're truly gone. It doesn't happen the way most people imagine. There's no dramatic breakdown, no tear-filled epiphany in the middle of the night. It comes quietly, like memory slipping in through the back door of her mind. A scent she didn't expect, a song playing in a cafe, a familiar phrase spoken by someone else. And suddenly, there you are, alive again in the corners of her thoughts. But she's not missing the grand moments. It's not the vacations, the gifts, or the intense conversations. It's the little things, the way you always made sure she got home safe, the way you'd look at her when she was overthinking without judgment, just patience, the way your presence had weight, not loud but anchoring. And the strangest part is, She never realized how much those small things mattered until they were no longer there. She doesn't miss you because you reached out. She misses you because you didn't, because the silence didn't bend and your absence didn't collapse into desperation. You didn't check in. You didn't remind her. You didn't chase the echo of what was. And in that, something clicked inside her, something she didn't prepare for. Because what stirs her now isn't your presence, it's your absence. The finality of it. The shape of the space you once filled that now feels bigger, not smaller. It's the realization that you're not just silent, you're unreachable. That whatever thread connected you is no longer held by your hand. They don't start missing you when you send a message. They start missing you when they believe deep down that the door has truly closed. And that's where the ache begins. Not as a craving for attention, but as a loss of emotional safety. You weren't just someone she dated. You were the version of calm she didn't know she needed until it was gone. And now that you've fully stepped out of her reach, she starts to feel the cost of what she let go of. This isn't about longing for someone who begged to stay. This is about mourning the presence of someone who left with dignity, who loved without needing to convince, and who vanished without needing to prove anything. She misses you now, not because you're trying to come back, but because she finally sees you were the one thing that never had to raise its voice to be felt. And that kind of absence is the loudest of all. Stage number 6. She thought you'd wait forever. She walked away with a silent expectation that even if things ended, you'd still be there. Maybe not right beside her, but somewhere close. Watching, waiting, available, just in case her certainty ever wavered. She thought you'd linger in her orbit, quietly holding space, just out of reach but never out of love. But one day, something shifts. She catches a glimpse of you, not the version of you she left, but someone more grounded, more alive. You're smiling again, not the forced kind, but one that feels real. There's clarity in your eyes. Maybe you're surrounded by new people. Maybe you're even standing next to someone who sees you now in a way she used to. And in that split second, her breath catches, not from jealousy, but from disbelief. Because she wasn't ready for that version of you. The one who didn't stay stuck. The one who didn't cling to the story. The one who didn't make her the center of his healing. You're not just silent anymore. You're healing. You're not waiting, not hoping, not checking your phone late at night. You're living, and the weight of that truth lands heavier than any goodbye ever could. She's not just losing you. She's losing the version of you that would have still chosen her. And that realization doesn't just sting. It unravels the entire narrative she built after the breakup. The story she told herself to feel okay. That maybe you'd always be hers if she ever changed her mind. That maybe you were just one message away. That maybe when the timing was right, you'd still be open. But now she sees something she didn't expect. You're not stuck where she left you. You moved, not with resentment, not with ego, but with intention. You rebuilt, quietly, without needing to prove anything to her. And suddenly, the fear she feels has nothing to do with losing love. It's the fear of losing access, of no longer being someone who has a say in your life, of watching you become someone better without needing her to be part of the story. It's not the breakup that haunts her now. It's the reality that while she let go, you outgrew the space she once occupied. And that realization is the one thing she never prepared for, because she never thought you'd stop orbiting her world, until you did. Stage number 7. She regrets it but stays silent. She thinks about you more often than she lets on, more than even she wants to admit. It happens in waves, late at night, after a hard day, when she hears something that reminds her of who she was when she was with you, calmer, more centered, more held. But she doesn't reach out. Not because she doesn't want to, but because to do so would mean facing everything she worked so hard to suppress. She told herself a story when she left, that she was doing the right thing, that it wouldn't hurt, that you would wait or break, that she'd move on and never look back. But the longer she sits with the silence, the harder it becomes to believe those things. Still, she doesn't act on what she feels, because regret, real regret, isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with apologies or confessions. It hides in glances, in hesitation, in the way she hovers over your name in her phone and never presses send. Reaching out would mean admitting she was wrong, that she gave up something real, that she hurt someone who showed up with sincerity. And that kind of honesty requires a kind of courage she may not have right now. Pride is loud, regret is quiet. And most people, when forced to choose between discomfort and vulnerability, stay loyal to their ego. Regret doesn't always come with a knock at the door. Sometimes it's just a silent scream she never lets you hear. You may never know how often she checks your social media without liking anything. How many times she types a message and deletes it. How many nights she lies in bed wondering what would have happened if she had stayed just a little longer. And the truth is, she might carry that regret for years and never do a thing about it. And even if one day she does reach out, don't let that be the validation you were waiting for. Because sometimes people return not to build something new, but to feel something old. Not to stay, but to remember what it felt like to be close to something real. That's not love. That's nostalgia looking for relief. Don't confuse her silence for indifference, but don't confuse her return, if it ever happens, as proof that your love was meant to continue. Her regret may be real, but your healing is not a story she gets to rewrite. You moved forward. You built something from what broke you. And no matter what echoes in her silence, you don't owe yourself to a maybe. You've earned the kind of peace that doesn't wait for permission. I want you to understand something clearly. What she showed you when she walked away wasn't truth. It was a mask, a survival move. And I know it shook you. I know it made you question everything you gave, everything you meant. But hear this. Her certainty wasn't strength. It was self-protection. Her silence wasn't clarity. It was fear dressed up as control. What you experienced wasn't the collapse of something fake. It was the fallout of something real that she didn't have the emotional tools to carry any longer. And that's not a reflection of your worth. That's a reflection of her limitations. The truth is, most women don't leave suddenly. They leave slowly, quietly, emotionally, long before they walk out physically. And when they do finally go, they'll look confident because they have to, because second-guessing it in front of you would undo the story they've told themselves to make the goodbye easier. But eventually, that story starts to break. Doubt creeps in, regret simmers. And behind the pride, behind the silence, is a question they don't know how to face. Did I walk away from something I'll never find again? You need to let that question be hers to answer. Your job is not to stay available while she figures it out. Your job is to come home to yourself, to stop reacting, stop chasing, stop explaining, to reclaim your presence, your energy, your self-respect. Let her remember you, not as someone who begged, but as someone who stood tall. Let her regret you, not because you disappeared in anger, but because you left in peace. Let your silence speak, not to punish, but to protect the man you're becoming. Because the strongest thing you can do as a man is not to prove her wrong. It's to prove to yourself that you never needed her recognition to begin again. If something in this message reminded you of the strength you've always had, but maybe forgot, lost in the noise of life, let it settle in. Not as a moment of pain, but as proof that you're growing, that you're evolving. Keep moving forward, not to be seen, not to be understood, but because peace is worth so much more than validation. If this touched something quiet inside you, like the video and subscribe to Stoic Station, where growth isn't loud and healing isn't performative. It's personal, it's powerful, and it begins the moment you choose yourself without apology.